Ah, morning all. Well, here I am again doing another video on trauma. Looking a bit worse for wear myself this morning because I've been delving into some stuff that's coming up for me because of this fantastic program that I'm involved with, which is looking at what I'm about to talk about. The reason I'm doing a second video is because the live video that I did on my Facebook page the other day, I've had a number of people contact me about and ask me a couple of questions, which is fantastic because I said in that video that even if I reached one person, it was worth me doing that video. And the fact that I've had a couple of people approach me and ask me some questions is awesome. I'm by no means an expert in this field. I am purely showing up and talking about what I've learned through the journey that I've been on. So two of the questions that are the main two sort of questions that were asked or comments that were made, one of them was about me referring to it as, or saying the other day that a lot of people think that energy work is woo-woo, and wanting a bit of a understanding of why I've experienced and trusted in what I've trusted in to do with energy. And there's a couple of answers to that. The factual side, which us humans tend to often look for to justify doing anything, is the energy and energy work, and understanding how that impacts us as human beings, and in particular in relation to our behavioural patterns, and energy. Actually, one of the people well known for it, for the work in this area, is Carl Jung, who, interestingly enough, I learnt a lot about 28 years ago, when I was studying behaviour. His work was actually along with another three people, was very much the work that we looked into. And I, interestingly, didn't realise the relevance or pay much attention to it back then, and I wish I had have, because my path would have been a different path, I think, if I'd understood what I do now. But I've been delving recently back into his work in the area of archetypes. So archetypes are they're an energy that each of us can embody or live out through our life, and it can be, and medical professionals know his work, people like psychologists and things like that, but they apply his principles in a different way. And certainly, in how they manage it. And the key word there is how they manage it. But it's really important to shift it, not to manage it, not to mask it by treating symptoms, which is what a lot of medical professionals do. And that's not criticising the place for that. Certainly that's what kept my head above water for a very long time. But what it didn't do was actually shift that energy out of my body and the trauma. It's not just about only talking about it. Talking about it is important, and talk about it is a way of releasing it as well. But to break it, to stop it perpetuating it, needs to be addressed at an energy level. People who, I'm going to go out and make the claim here, that people who think that it is woo-woo, it stems from, in my belief, the fear of the unknown. And I certainly embraced that energy for many, many years, didn't step into looking into it, and as a result continued to suffer, and continued to be on a plethora, a medical cocktail of drugs. And not shift it, and continue to put myself into positions where I'd repeat the same behaviours. So, and the reason I believe in it is not just because I have personally experienced big shifts which have completely changed my life, but I've also seen it and witnessed it in so many other people. And that's the reason I'm passionate about talking about it, stepping out of my own comfort zone, and owning that this is what I know to be true from my lived experience. I don't need to have qualifications in it. I don't need to have, be able to rattle off 1,000,001 different sources for how I know what I know. I know it from lived experience, and to me that is the proof. And seeing that lived experience not just in myself but in others. So the other question that was asked was particularly around where I was saying about trauma being stored in the body and it being energy. So in really simple terms, When you go through a traumatic event, and there can be many of them. I listed some of the really big, probably easy to relate to ones the other day, of abuse, sexual assault, witnessing tragic accidents, grief and loss, domestic violence. There's they're really, really obvious ones. Things like the loss of a child, things like, or any loved one, things like being adopted, things like, which I had no idea was a massive trauma, and apparently is one of the bigger ones, I've been told. The a breakdown of a marriage, a breakdown of a relationship, family dynamics, huge one, family dynamics, witnessing events in the world, things like flooding, things like 9/11. You don't have to be part of those things to actually have a traumatic response from them. And what that does is, because trauma gets trapped in our subconscious, which is a protective measure. The brain is a really, really powerful tool, and has lots of built-in protection mechanisms. I talked the other day about having lost memories, and whether I don't know whether I'll be able to recover some of them. I have, so deep were some of the traumatic experiences that I had, they were so deeply buried in my subconscious that I actually didn't have memory of them. And an example of that, a very personal example of that, is the 4 days before Thomas was born, and he was born a week early. I was hit in the stomach by my husband, and I had completely blocked out that memory, and I didn't uncover that memory. I uncovered it when I read a journal. So I'm a writer, and when I was packing up my house to sell and move to Melbourne, I found this diary, and there was records of that event written down with dates and everything. So I found that memory, but I still didn't recall it. And the way that I actually record it was something called EMDR therapy, which was done with a nurse practitioner. And she actually said at the time, this is woo-woo shit. They were her words, but I didn't care, because I hadn't been able to uncover that memory through counselling, through psychology, sure as hell not through drugs and things like that, obviously. So, and that was working with the energy and the mind to actually tap into that, to bring that memory back, and to be able to face it and safely deal with it. And that was energy work. So that was probably one of my first tastes of it. There are a lot of memories that I have trapped away, and that is my body protecting me. But what it is doing is it's leaving the trauma sitting there. So unless you actually go in and work with the energy, and go into your subconscious, you don't find those you don't find those traumas, and they store. And what happens is they come out in your body as dis-ease, discomfort, pain in the body. They come out as automated behavioural responses, conditioned patterns of response. You do the same thing over and over because you haven't recognised what it is, you haven't acknowledged it, you haven't released it from sitting within your body, and so you continue to actually build on it. And so you're building a bigger trauma response in your body, which builds increased pain. Our emotional responses, emotion is energy in motion. And the easiest way to describe that is think about how you feel when you're getting angry. And the physical response within your body, you feel that build-up of anger coming, and you feel it within your body. That's an energy, and then it comes out verbally or physically, or however it comes out for you. That's the physical, that's the emotional response and the behavioural response. But the energy that you feel moving around within you, that is energy. And that response is an energy. Tears, the flowing of tears, and the feeling within your body when you feel them coming and they're rising up, that's an energy. When you feel your stomach tightening, it's an energy. It's a danger warning. For me, it's like if my stomach starts to churn, then I'm uncomfortable. Something is is alerting me, my body is alerting me through energy that something's not right. Things like joy. Joy is a happy thing. That can be, for me, the freedom from a lot of the traumas that I've been carrying around, and the shifting and moving of that has brought about great joy. But again, coming back to how I feel within my body when I'm experiencing that emotion, that's an energy. It's emotion, energy in motion. And everything is energy. Our body is moving parts, but it's also energy. And so doing practices, things like dancing, as I mentioned the other night, that is a really simple way to work with an energy that is within me, to move my body and to focus on what I'm feeling within my body and the energy that is arising, and then to actually work with movement to shift that around and to release that. And often when I do, dancing is joyful, obviously, but when I've had some really deep moments on the dance floor where I felt a really strong energy and it's needed to be acknowledged and to come up and to come out. And that can come from really wild dancing. It can come through as tears, sobbing, shaking. There's lots of ways it comes out. So when I talk about the energy work, and particularly the rapid core healing stuff that I've done, which is where I found I had the biggest shift, that is working with energy. It's no great surprise that on the journey to try and help Thomas, I discovered energy work and the power within that through so many different ways. So, and I have resisted talking about it because I got caught up in my own fear of it being woo-woo and people perceiving it as woo-woo. But I'm really needing to talk about it and share it because not only because of the change it's made to my life, not only because this is the kind of work that I'm going to be doing in the program that I'm writing at the moment, but because I know so many people carrying trauma. I know how debilitating it is. I'm witnessing it in other people. I've witnessed it in myself. I'm still clearing my trauma, because I've had 48 years of not addressing it and building on it, and had, some big events in my life. There's a lot to work through. But I'm committed to it because I know what a change the last 2 years has made in my life. And I want that more than anything, 100% for myself, but I want it for others as well. And so that's why I'm talking into it. It's really simple. If you think it's woo-woo and don't want to open your mind to a better way of life and a better way of living, then just don't watch my videos. And to those who do, keep reaching out to me, keep asking questions, because, as I said, I'm not an expert and I don't have all the answers, but by people sharing, we can all support each other, but it's also how we all learn. So yeah, anyway, that's today's video. As I said, you probably will be hearing from me a bit more on this topic. So yeah, thank you.